It's 6 o'clock, so we'll call the Planning Commission for Monday, July 27th to order. Please call the roll.
Commissioner Schaefer.
Here.
Commissioner Hawley.
Here.
Commissioner Chorin.
Here.
Commissioner Urbani.
Here.
Urbani. Also Commissioner Abadi. Commissioner Barnes. Here. Alderman Stralchuk.
Here.
Mayor Nurbin.
Here. First up, we have meeting minutes from June 22nd. Is there a motion to approve, or are there any comments or questions?
Move approval.
Second.
Motion and a second. Still time for comments and questions if there are any. Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Before we get too far in, if you came this evening and filled out a yellow slip and have not given it to Robin yet, Robin, with her hand up, green dress, please make your way up and make sure she has a copy of that, and she'll make sure that I get a copy of it. So jumping in, first, the consent agenda. There's 4 items on the consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda, or would anyone like to remove an item?
I'd like to pull or discuss 2 items. Item C and D, I believe it is.
C and D?
Yes.
I'll move approval on items 3A and
Covered?
B.
Second.
So 3A and B?
Yep.
Okay. Does anyone else have any other items they'd like to remove? Hearing none, all those in favor of approval of items 3A and 3B, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Those items pass. We'll now take up item 3C. And I'm assuming since there's questions, do you want an overview from staff, or do you just want to lead with a question?
Well, perhaps a quick overview from staff would be helpful, but I do have 2 questions, I believe it is here.
So this is for certified survey map approval for the parcel north. Oh, oops, wrong one. Okay, there we go. This is for building and site plan amendment for the property at 11036 North Range Line Road. And they're proposing 8 pickleball courts and the relocation of their baseball and their softball fields. They're going to maintain an open space ratio of 67.4%, and the pickleball courts are located to the north of the site on the map there. There's also some fencing proposed. The fencing is 8 feet in height for the pickleball courts, which is consistent with other pickleball courts that have been proposed and approved in the city. And then in terms of landscaping, they're adding a couple trees to the east of the existing parking lot. They're also repaving the parking lot and restriping, and there's some fencing proposed along with the baseball and the softball field relocations.
Thank you. The 2 questions, comments that I have here, and looking at the site and so forth. First of all, I'm all for it and support the what's being done. Just looking at the site, 2 things that I have is, what is the essence of, I guess it's item number 5 regarding a traffic impact analysis. And my simple question is, what this seems like a pretty small development and so forth. So I'm just questioning all that had to be put into condition here. Basically, the need for a TIA at this particular development.
Yeah, the condition's actually not for a TIA. It's more of a memo just evaluating that all of the school sites, when they had the referendum in 2019, something like that, there was a TIA done for all of the schools because there were a lot of pickup drop-off issues at that time. Unfortunately, we do still get some concerns every once in a while at varying schools, so we just wanted to add this condition in It's like I said, it's just more of a memo. Just we're looking from the engineer that performed that just to verify that this doesn't materially change their assumptions from that original TIA.
Sounds like it's a very brief procedural.
Yes, correct.
Okay, and that ties in with the, and what I was questioning if there was some other issue outside. But just sort of coincidentally with it, when looking at the site related to traffic only, is for people going out, turning, or going out of the site, there is quite a bit of brush immediately north of the driveway and right on the lot line with the house, but some of the brush, I believe, is in the school property. And so I was thinking if traffic, boy, if anything, it's a maintenance item, I realize, but for the amount of people that are going in for pickleball, et cetera, on top of everything else, that would be my strong suggestion. That's it.
So your suggestion is to assess the condition and the potential overgrowth of the brush on that corner?
Yes.
And
My suggestion is to clear the brush in Freelands to the extent that we can, that they are in the public right of way at the northeast corner.
We can have our field crews look at that shortly. Yeah.
Real close. So it's a tight bit, but it is. I'm just looking at the reality that there will be a lot of people going to pickleball.
Time.
okay, any other feedback? Commissioner Urbani?
Since we're discussing this one, I did have a question. There's a health clinic that exists on the lower level of the Range Line building on near where your yellow arrow is. If they restripe, they show in the plans to restripe with handicap spots close to the entrance to the new playground and pickleball area. Will there be handicap spots, or do they need to have handicap spots close to the health center entrance?
That's a good question. Yeah, there should be some there already if they're just restriping. We can look at it in our site plan review though.
There's basically no striping there now. So I was wondering if maybe you can see those spots now, those yellow spots. If those are still going to exist, then one of those can simply be handicapped.
Yeah, we are going to amend our plan to show that we are not repaving that parking lot in any way, shape, or form. What we're doing is just a restriping. So the only modifications to the asphalt that you'll see is the driveway that connects to the parking lot. We need to move a barrier gate back a little bit to make sure that we have the proper watershed for our stormwater permitting. So all the lots that are, and we'll make sure that we have the appropriate striping in place and meet all ADA requirements. Munson Contractor will be doing that for us.
Okay, so you're not repaving anyway?
No.
Okay. Yeah, I think the buses for Lakeshore now go in that entrance and out that entrance. So it is heavily used around the drop-off time with bus traffic. That's the only reason a traffic study would be actually very interesting.
Thank you. Any other feedback from the commission? Feedback or questions?
Just a quick question.
Sure. Commissioner Strelchek.
Did I miss it, or were there suggested hours that they'd have the pickleball courts open? Is it daylight hours or?
Yeah, I can leave that to the applicant to answer.
We're still evaluating what that looks like. We're not putting any type of lighting or anything like that in place. So it's going to be a dusk to dawn type thing. The way in which we presented the courts gets us away from the school activities to allow us some activity during the day. We expect some, but again, we're not limiting any of the hours yet.
Oh, you'll be busy during the day, I can guarantee it. Like, they'll be probably full, which is good, and I appreciate you guys putting forth the effort and doing that. So the only other question is like just child safety and everything else. You've taken into consideration the additional traffic and the public use and the open for public space from a child safety standpoint as well.
Yeah, one of the biggest things that we've done in an audit from 2016 is look at the way in which the public uses our parking lots, the way in which buses use our parking lots, and to make sure that we have a clear separation and all that. And then our students go behind the school to load, the parents stay in front of the school for pickup. So that was one of the biggest things. We got bollards around, we've got gates down, clear separation between buses and the public. Same thing we're looking at here and making sure that we can keep the same thing, keep the buses away from the cars, kids away from the cars, and everything behind the school. So we looked at all that.
Okay. Do we want to formally note what the hours are? Dusk till dawn.
It's a permitted use, so there really shouldn't be a restriction on hours. If they do a nighttime or they put in lights, that kicks it into a conditional use.
Okay. I just wanted to validate, and I'm in support of it, so I'm not looking to derail it. Awesome, thank you.
Any last feedback or a motion?
I'll move,
Or 3C?
3C. I'll second that approval.
Did you have a amendment from your prior comments we wanted to include?
Thank you. I'd like to move that as part of acceptance of item 3C, we just make sure there's possible trimming, or trimming is done to the extent possible for visibility.
Review of staff, based on staff's acceptance.
Based on staff effort, please.
Awesome.
All right.
I'll accept that as a second.
Engineering's not an action item. That's okay. Cole's up to task. So we have a motion with a amendment to assess the sight lines and potential brush trimming, and a second, and the seconder accepts that amendment.
Yes.
All right, I have a motion and a second. Any last feedback? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That item is approved. Can't wait to see the improvements there. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bringing us to item 3D, St. John's Properties, applicant seeking a building and site plan approval to allow for a proposed 42,784 square foot flex building for the property located immediately north of 7216 West Donges Bay Road. Again, quick overview from staff. Please. Okay.
So this is for building and site plan approval. This is for a new building, a multi-tenant flex building at 42,784 square feet, located north of 7216 West Donges Bay Road. Just some highlights. There's one rooftop HVAC unit that's planned for installation. That's in the plans, and there was also a sightline study submitted that shows it should not be visible from view. We have conditioned approval on the fact that if it proves to be visible, a screening plan will be required, and that will be subject to final staff review and approval. There's also a correction in the staff report. It says that the dumpster enclosure will be in the southwest corner. It should be the northwest corner, as you can see on the plans. That's pretty standard dumpster enclosure. The outside of the enclosure will match the architecture of the building, which is masonry. There are 107 parking stalls that are planned for the site. There's some notes in there because this is a speculative multi-tenant facility. We can't verify exactly how many parking spots the code would require, considering we don't know the specific tenant mix yet and square footage allocations aren't yet known. The applicant indicates that it'll be a mix of office and warehousing, but again, those code standards are dependent on how many employees and kind of the level of square footage of office space. So we've also added a condition that future tenant review through the planning department will be required to ensure that what they're providing is going to be sufficient for whatever the uses are. Typically, tenants are required to submit business occupancy permits anyways, so we'll have some level of review kind of naturally built in there. And then another thing to point out, they're showing loading docks on the southwest side of the building. We reached out about them relocating those to the northwest end of the building to avoid potential noise disturbances for those residential properties that are to the west of this site. The applicant indicated that because of site constraints, specifically because the south end of the building is narrower than the north end, that they cannot move those docks down. We added a condition of approval that they submit a turning radius analysis to essentially prove that they're unable to move those to that south end. So that's another condition of approval. There's some standard lighting that's going to be installed in the parking lot. And then also wall sconces. There's some corrections that need to be made to the lumens of some of those proposed wall sconces. So that's an additional condition of approval. And then landscaping, there's some standard business park requirements that they are meeting, as well as meeting that 10% interior parking lot landscaping requirement. So we're recommending approval with the listed conditions.
All right, thank you. Is there a question, Commissioner Barnes?
Thank you. Again, from the get-go, I do approve, I mean, accept the development and so forth, but a couple of the things I wondered about was well, I guess first of all, it doesn't appear to me like there would be a truck maneuvering problem on site, just without studying it, so I question that there really is an issue there. But if there is, you've got in your condition number 5 that, not knowing who would occupy it, that if there is a need for additional parking, that it would have to be addressed, and I guess, what do we, the city, do when we get into those circumstances that, a what if purely on the parking availability?
Yeah, I think they would either have to return for building and site plan amendment to add parking to this, to the site where it's feasible to accommodate whatever tenants might be requiring that additional load, or we'd have to potentially deny a tenant from occupying the space if they're kind of putting them over that tipping point where they'd be reaching, a potential concern for maximizing out the parking.
And I guess that would be the I would hope that doesn't come up, and just my glance at the site, I don't know where you could add any more parking.
Yeah, they originally had 97 parking spots proposed, and then in conversation they ended up adding 10 more just to kind of get a little additional on there. So there already have been 10 added. I don't know exactly where they would add additional parking either, but
Okay, I guess like I said, I like the proposal and everything, but it's just the essence of none of us know what's going to be there, and that it's kind of a what if or how to keep it going. The other thing is a wonderment on my part is if trucks are found to not be able to circulate, as in the way that I guess it's item number 8 has conditions on there. Had there been any consideration of putting the connection, this is kind of strange, but to the west, to the Pioneer Court that's on the west side? And again, it's just in the interest of an idea, not a suggested change, but just to simplify things.
To the west.
I think they're abutting properties, are they not?
No, that's owned by the condo. The parcel here is the condo association owns that.
Right.
So they don't have direct access to Pioneer.
Okay, thank you. I'm sorry, I thought that parcel along Dungeons Bay extended up to that. So, okay, thanks for answering that. Thank you. I would be prepared to move to accept the.
Okay, we still have some time for question and comment here. Commissioner Strelchak.
So we had a warehouse discussion a couple months back where we had idling trucks, and we've got a condo association right behind this where they're proposing to put a gate. Do we want to add a condition in there where there's no idling trucks in the evening hours?
I mean, it's something, if you want to consider that, we could do that. Typically, if it's a conditional use, we would have this opportunity to do it at a later date. But if you're concerned about just overall truck traffic on a permitted use, we could put some requirements in now if you feel it's necessary.
Yeah, I'm familiar with their other properties, and I'm generally very supportive. We just, again, don't know who the tenant's going to be, and if it's like a warehousing, something that would be approved in this zoning. My concern is that we got second or third shifts trucks coming in, and they're, sitting there idling, creating that same scenario where we had issues over.
Yeah,
on Columbus Day.
I would make your condition specific to idling though, because we do allow second and third shift operations and permitted uses in the business park, so we don't want to curtail that. But if you want to put a requirement about idling, I think that's fair game.
Yeah, and how would you craft that wording? Because that would.
I would just say no idling of trucks past 9 p.m., 10 p.m. for permit for exist or.
We've got hours conveniently defined in our code already for when certain types of users are able to make noise. I think it's typically before 8's not cool and
Before
and
7.
after 7 or 8 at night.
But those typically don't apply to permitted uses, though. So I think you still could be in that same situation here now. And we've had one recently a little bit further, I think, north of this site, where we've had the exact same situation where we sent them the same letter because we felt they were violating their approval conditions. So I think if you want to make it clear, we just make a condition for this case that all trucks past whatever time you decide is relevant, that there's no idling for warehousing or distribution type uses. So if it is a permitted use and we'll still capture that as part of their approval. I think that's realistic.
I'd like to add that motion in.
What's that?
I wasn't the mover of the original motion.
Oh, we haven't officially made a motion yet.
We also have someone from
He made a motion.
Said he was ready to.
Oh, okay. Okay.
He didn't actually do it.
Mayor. We also have someone from the public that wishes to speak on this item.
Pardon?
We have someone from the public that wishes to speak on this item.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, bring the card up, and I can read. Before we'll get to the last couple of commissioners' comments here, and then we'll get to public comment. Commissioner Urbani.
Thank you for drawing attention to the fact that you said the dumpster was actually going I see it on the plans, in the northwest corner. Wouldn't it actually make more sense to be in the southwest corner? Is that possible at all? Because the exit to the road is down on that side. Otherwise, the garbage truck, this is a little picky, the garbage truck is going to have to go the entire length of the building and all the way back down, and that's right where the condos are.
I think the downside there is when trash is getting picked up, you're blocking the truck traffic, potentially.
Such a short period of time once
But-
a week.
Okay, thank you.
And did we have one more? Commissioner Schaefer.
Is the applicant here? Yeah. Would you,
That's okay if you want to come up, yeah,
that would be cool.
in case we have a question. Did you have a question?
Well, kind of. I was going to ask this to come off the consent agenda because of the parking. I'll wait till he's. Hey, thank you. Was thinking about, parking is something that we see fairly frequently with some waivers. This one is 50% of what it would be required if the whole thing was office. I think the likelihood of that, we don't know what the likelihood of that is. So it's sort of self-limiting to say we're only going to have half the parking spots that code would require for a building of this size. I think my question is, are you concerned about that? Because we do have other vacant properties within the industrial park, and I don't imagine that your goal of developing this is to have it become yet another one of those.
Right. We have 6 other buildings within the park, very kind of similar setup. So we do all the leasing internally. So we take that into account as we lease out the building. The percentage of office with the percentage of warehouse, so that we do not run into issues with parking. So as we lease up space amongst all the buildings, we take occupants and loads into consideration, if that makes sense.
Them then accordingly, like amongst your buildings?
We've moved tenants as they expand or need more parking. We've moved them within the facility to accommodate that, yes.
Thank you for that explanation.
I'll just add, this is not an uncommon problem. We deal with this for existing buildings as well as new buildings. My guess is here, if this building was 100% office, then this whole parking or this whole asphalt area in the back could be converted to parking. This whole area, where all the loading docks, they wouldn't need loading docks anymore, so they could convert that all into parking spaces.
The loading dock. docks, you're saying?
What's that?
North of the loading?
The whole area. If they don't need any loading docks, this could be all converted over to parking. So they have enough asphalt to do it. It's just, again, they have to balance their needs and what they want to do with the property. But we deal with this on a daily basis with regard to other multi-tenant buildings, making sure that there's enough parking to satisfy.
Existing buildings, but we've got a few cases like this come through here before.
Correct. Yes.
Thank you.
All right, I'm going to get the public comment here. We have one person registered to speak. Richard Lamb from 10498 North Hidden Circle Court.
Hidden Creek Court.
Hidden Creek Court, okay. Got it, yep. Didn't mark whether you supported or opposed, but wishes to speak nonetheless.
I'm sorry, what's the question?
You didn't mark if you were in support or opposed, but just wished to speak.
I guess I just have some questions and some warnings, perhaps. As you said, we live in Hidden Creek. Not only are we close to the proposal here, we're the closest house there. So we are concerned as to the noise that we're going to get coming through from where the new buildings are going to go in, and whatever activity is going to be taking place there. Currently, there is rather dense, thick area of trees between us and the rest of the area where all the manufacturing and things like that go. Are those trees going to be taken out of there? If they are, that's going to open our condo to all that industrial park.
I can make a comment on that. There's a berm in the back there with where the trees are, and our plan is to leave all the existing stuff in the landscape and the berm in the back to help shield from the residential area.
Trees included.
Yeah.
Okay. That's as much as I can answer or ask for. Thank you.
Right, thank you.
Excuse me, does that include the trees that are the kind of the lighter green that would be closer to your new building?
Yes, that's
Good.
Those are all on a berm there in kind of an easement, so we're gonna just leave all that area alone.
Yeah, it's just for a little historical fact. That was part of the business park development, and we required those to be put in, and there's an easement protecting those trees from development, so they can't be touched.
Okay.
So that would explain why it's not shown on the plans at all, because it's in the easement area.
Yes.
Okay. I thought the aerial map was a little out of scale with the maps in there, and that's why, because there's a whole strip of protected area to the rear. Okay. Good question and good clarification. Any other questions or comments from the commission? Commissioner Strelchuk.
The question did come up. The question did come up with the dumpster. Can you show me on the map where that is in relationship to the condos?
Sure.
And then I'll
here's
make
the
a motion
dumpster
as
in
soon as
here, and then that would relate to an area roughly about up here.
And I would recommend moving that south. Unless it would impede the trucks actually getting in.
Sounds like a motion or an amendment to the conditions.
Yeah, so I'll make a motion to approve with the conditions that we move the garbage receptacle to the, the southwest corner, within reason based on the truck radius, ideally to avoid being right at the backs of the houses. And then I'd also like to limit idling truck traffic from 9 p.m. to 7 a.m. And it doesn't eliminate truck traffic and the ability to bring the truck in. The trucks just simply can't sit there and idle during that time.
I will second that motion.
Okay. Any other discussion? Was your motion to, just wanted to clarify, was the motion to absolutely relocate the trash enclosure or to study it? And because it sounded a little, there's some if statements in there. I just want to make sure it's clear.
I've been near a place where there was a dumpster, and in the 5 or 6 in the morning, the banging of that closed and down to the ground has me jump out of my skin, and when I'm waking up in the morning, and I don't want that for the resident. I mean, they put that as close to the residents as they could, and I think that's going to be a huge inconvenience over time. So, further south, further away from the condos is ideal.
Okay, so that's a move it. Move it, don't study it. Okay.
Yeah.
Just wanted to clarify the intent so staff can write it up correctly. Okay.
Yeah.
Any complaints there? I think it looks like it's feasible if you take out that radius in the corner.
Right, and we placed it where we did just because, trucks pull up and then need space to back out. And also, in other municipalities, we've run into issues where the fire department doesn't want fire lanes obstructed, period, no matter if it's 10 seconds or 10 minutes. So that's kind of why we put it up there, that the garbage truck could pull up, grab it, not block any potential fire lane and get out. So, but I'm willing to work with staff and you guys and place it wherever you feel appropriate.
Okay.
You guys run a good business, so.
Fantastic. Thank you. Okay. Any other feedback? Hearing and seeing none, please call the roll. Yep.
Commissioner Abani,
Aye.
Commissioner Barnes,
Aye.
Commissioner Chorin,
Aye.
Commissioner Schaefer,
Aye.
Commissioner Hawley,
Aye.
Commissioner Elliott, what? Ellsworth, sorry. Sorry. Alderman Stralchuk,
Aye.
Mayor Nurbin.
Aye.
Vote passes.
Thank you. Best of luck.
Thank you.
On to public hearings. Our first public hearing this evening is Mequon Legacy Academy. Applicant is seeking conditional use grant approval for a child care facility for the property located at 1406 West Mequon Road. Are these for this item? Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, you can sit.
Quite the pile here.
Move to go into public hearing?
There you go.
Second.
Motion to go into public hearing in a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We are now in public hearing. Is there anyone here this evening who wishes to speak on item 4A? Hearing and seeing none. Is there a motion to close public hearing?
Motion to close.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Public hearing is now closed. Quick overview from staff, please.
This request is for conditional use grant and building and site plan amendment approval for a child care facility located at 1406 West Mequon Road. The site is in the B2 zoning district, and child care facilities are conditional use in B2. It's proposed in a multi-tenant building, and the specific suite is what you can see highlighted in red on the screen. The applicant is proposing hours of operation daily from 5 a.m. to 9 p.m. Most activity, obviously, with early morning drop-off and pickup. There are currently 150 spaces for the entire multi-tenant facility. The industry standard for this specific use would require 13 spaces. According to the other uses that are currently out there, as well as a site visit that staff conducted around noon, 12:30 on July 20th, there was about 15 vehicles parked in the roughly 50 spaces that are allocated to this portion of the building. So we believe that the parking should be sufficient for the use. The previous use was also a similar use in nature, Little Sprouts Play Care, so it's not terribly different from what we approved last year. In addition to the plan itself, there's also a slight change to the site. They're proposing 2,200 square feet of outdoor play area. That is what you can see in this page highlighted in red there. This is already a grass space, so it's going to remain as is with non-permanent playground equipment. And then they are also proposing a 6-foot-high black aluminum fence to enclose the area. There are a couple listed conditions that are pretty standard, final fence approval by staff, and other than that, we are recommending approval of the conditional use grant and building and site plan amendment.
All right. Is that a question, Commissioner Abani?
Yes, I have concerns about your outdoor play area. Unless we want to hear from the applicant first, do we want to, tell me,
Well, what do you,
Oh, so I'm
What are your
concerned.
concerns? Yeah.
There's a road that loops around the back of that building, and I know there are cars that go back there. They probably don't expect to see kids crossing that road. And I'm not sure if that's where the dumpsters are, if garbage trucks go around back there too, or anything. But perhaps we could even think about striping on the pavement or some kind of signage about a pedestrian crossing, something like that.
If I could also add to that question, just in terms of your plans for staff with the child crossing.
Okay, so just to answer your question first, that was one of our concerns. So the way the grass, it could go back a bit further. So the owner, Andrew, who unfortunately couldn't be here because he was traveling, we're gonna build that up and push it back. The dumpsters are around the corner on the side. There aren't any dumpsters there. And we were gonna put up a sign there to let them know, like, kids in the play area. We are pushing it back some so that road is really used for, like, let's say it's an emergency, vehicles need to get back there or any of that nature. So when we leave out the building, our door is right to the left of it, so the children would go that way and go directly. It'll be an open, that gate is gonna come around, and it's an open door there, so that we can avoid them, being out there when cars or if emergency or any of that nature is going on. The other thing that we are looking into, because he was supposed to give me the days during and the times of those dumpster pickups, because our goal is to make sure that, one, we're not leaving out the building during that time, and two, we're not coming back in the building during that time. We don't want kids back there when there's possibility of traffic going there. To answer your question, we're gonna have 13 people on staff. And so during the day, it'll be 7, to like 3 or 4, and then the evening will be about 6. But in those later hours, we wouldn't be out there only because, darkness, all those things that could possibly happen. We went 6 feet high because in the back of it is kind of swampy, if you think about what I'm talking about. And we were just really concerned about the kids possibly, not that it would happen, but just being proactive that they would possibly get over the fence. So we went and make it high enough so they can't, because our kids can be rambunctious sometimes. And so we were just kind of thinking about those things.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions or feedback for staff or the applicant? Commissioner Strelchak.
Yes.
So the question for staff is, do you think the child crossing's safe enough, or should we just add a small condition in that they work with you just to enhance that child crossing back there, just from a child safety standpoint? Maybe like a stop sign and some striping or something like that, anything to help you out, right?
Yeah, I think additional striping and signage is an easy condition we could add just to satisfy everybody.
Okay. Yeah.
I agree with that as well, because that's what we were thinking. So thank you.
So I'll move approval with the addition of the condition, the additional striping and signage is added to the back to be discussed and approved by staff to ensure child safety and support the child care facility. You're welcome.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, please call the roll.
Commissioner Abani,
Aye.
Commissioner Barnes,
Aye?
Commissioner Chorin,
Aye.
Commissioner Schaefer,
Aye.
Commissioner Hawley,
Aye.
Commissioner Ellsworth,
Aye.
Alderman Strelchak,
Aye.
Mayor Nurbin.
Aye.
Vote passes.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good luck.
Thank you.
On to our second public hearing. This one is for RDC Investments LLC. The applicant is seeking a conditional use grant amendment for a building and site plan amendment to allow for an 8,852 square foot addition to the rear of the existing building for the property located at 10235 North Port Washington Road. Is there a motion to go into public hearing?
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor of entering public hearing, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, we are in public hearing. We have several people who have registered, well, some who have registered to speak and some who have just registered an opinion. So we'll get to those who registered to speak first, and we'll read the rest after that. The first is Ann Hanaway. Did I get that right? Hancock? Okay, sorry, I just couldn't read it clearly. Does it not indicate support or opposition? It says they have a question. Address is 10034 North Brookdale Drive. Yes, ma'am, what's your question?
So our neighborhood lives just behind the building. That is,
You pull the mic real close, sorry.
our neighborhood lives just behind the building that's proposed. So it's a quiet dead end-ish. We were curious if will the new structure have security lights? Will they have on all night? We're just curious about the height of the building. We know that it's going to be a substantial new addition. We kind of don't know what's going in. Is it an office space?
Well,
The investment company?
You can ask questions, but this isn't really intended to be a dialogue per se.
So you can,
Yeah,
just let me
ask your
know.
questions, and when we get out of public comment, we'll try our best to address all of them.
Okay, so thanks.
Okay, next we have Mary C. Bennett opposes, wishes to speak, 10245 Northwest Port Circle. And I think she speaks for many that follow. I think many have chosen not to speak, but I'll read the rest of the names when you're done.
Right, it was a collaboration of all the board members. My name is Mary Bennett, and I live at 10245 Northwest Port Circle, and I am also a board member of the Cedar Ridge Homeowners Association. This association has prepared a packet of information outlining our questions and concerns with the expansion of the property at 10235 North Port Washington Road. The background information provided highlights the frustration the association has experienced over the last 10 years. The major questions and concerns include: 1, storage. The Natalie Redding memo dated July 27 states the expansion is intended to expand the building's existing storage used as a financial processing center. We are concerned the addition of computer services for data storage could lead to additional hum and noise. Number 2, future rooftop units. Is the owner willing to commit to no future rooftop or ground level air conditioning units and generators that are a source of the constant hum noise? Please see Exhibit 1. Vegetation removal. This project requires significant vegetation removal. Please see the diagram. This vegetation currently provides both a visual and noise buffer for the association. Will the planting of 18 spruce trees spaced 10 feet apart provide the noise and visual buffer that is now in place? Number 4, injury to adjacent property. The potential future injury to our homes is significant. The noise hum from the data center could reduce our enjoyment of our homes and reduce our property values. Number 5, wetland and creek damage. We are concerned that the expansion could cause more erosion and jeopardize the existing drainage creek. In conclusion, the association agrees with our Alderman Parrish, who indicated he is, quote, against new data center being permitted along this corridor or the expansion of existing ones. Please see Exhibit 2. The association would like to thank the residents in attendance at this meeting and the statements from others included in the packet in showing support in opposing this expansion. Respectfully, Mary Bennett, 10245 North Westport Circle.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll read the rest of the names who submitted yellow cards. Mike Bennett, same address, opposes. Charles F. Curing, 1419 West Westport Circle, opposes. Thomas Borgers, opposes. 1431 Westport Circle. Robert Klug, 1300 North Westport Circle, opposes. Linda Roge, opposes. 10339 North Westport Circle. And Jill Berg of 10349 North Westport Circle also opposes. Did we miss anyone's yellow card? Okay. Is there anyone else here who didn't register who wishes to speak while we're still in public hearing? Seeing none, is there a motion to close public hearing?
So moved. Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor of closing public hearing, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, we are back in regular session. How about a quick overview from staff and then trying to hit on some of the points brought up during public comment?
So this is conditional use grant amendment and building and site plan amendment approval. The addition proposed is approximately 8,800 square feet, and it is proposed to the rear of the building on the west side, as is seen on the plans. The building was originally approved in 2013 for a conditional use grant for buildings exceeding 20,000 square feet. That's a required conditional use approval in the B3 zoning district. And because this is an additional square footage being added to the site, it requires an amendment to that original conditional use grant. Again, their intention is to expand the existing storage use per their narrative. It's not changing the nature of the business or the day-to-day operations at all. It's not increasing any employee or traffic day-to-day to the site, which is why there's no additional parking required or proposed. It's designed to be architecturally compatible with the existing building, and the plan does not incorporate any additional rooftop units aside from those that already exist, as was stated by the person from the public on the existing building. The primary site consideration, which if you recall, there was a consultation in 2020 for an addition that the applicant went in front of the Planning Commission then. This is a similar concern that was proposed at that time, and that's in relation to the floor area ratio requirements. As it stands, the addition would exceed the allowable FAR ratio on the existing parcel. And to address this, the applicant is proposing to do a boundary line adjustment with the property to the north to increase the size of the subject parcel and therefore remain compliant with that 30% FAR requirement. Assuming that boundary line adjustment is successful, then they would be compliant with the 30%. Because of that, we are conditioning their approval for both the building and site plan amendment and the conditional use grant amendment on that proposed boundary line adjustment going through and being recorded. So that has to be successful with the property to the north in order for this approval to become official. Again, there's no parking modifications proposed. No additional employees are expected as part of the expansion. The existing generator, which you can see in the plan, is remaining as is, and the building will in ways kind of shield and buffer that existing generator. That was another benefit that was mentioned in the 2020 consultation, so that might hopefully help with some of the noise that's generated from that. There's also, as one of the public members stated, there's Black Hill spruce trees planned along the western property line. We're just requiring that those be a little more undulating in nature. They're kind of shown in a straight, direct line in order to give those a little more of a naturalistic look and be less kind of strict in their soldiers in a row design. That is an additional requirement of their approval. In terms of height, I know that was mentioned. The height is slightly less than the existing building. I believe the existing building is 19 feet and the addition is like 18 feet and 8 inches. So it's pretty close to what the existing building is showing. The only lighting proposed on the site per the plans are lighting near the exterior doors that are going to be on the addition.
Okay, so did I hear you correct? No additional rooftop units?
No additional rooftop units.
And is there air conditioning proposed? Is it just located elsewhere? I'm just not sure what's being proposed and where it's being located.
The existing air conditioning, if you scroll down on that diagram, whoever was scrolling,
The great and powerful Oz has got that back
yeah.
Scroll down.
I'm not
So
in
the
control of the
units,
screen, unfortunately.
the units that would serve that area are actually, we over provisioned the building, the existing building, so we're just moving the inside units over to the other side of the wall, as you see in the diagram. And so the rooftop units that service the existing inside units that we're not using now, will then, or we're not using the capacity right now, will then go over to the other side of the wall on the inside of the building, meaning we're using existing rooftop units.
Okay, so no additional rooftop units and no additional generators.
Correct.
And the landscaping buffer that's on the rear of the property is essentially remaining intact, and we're adding a row of arborvitaes?
Yeah, I think in the early part of the session, you were showing the setback of 50 feet, I think, so that people can get a real visual as to how much vegetation actually is being disturbed. There was a ton of buckthorn and dead ash. You can see a pile of dead ash more towards the north central part of it. We cleared for safety reasons and such. We spent a significant amount of money clearing all the dead ash off the back of the property there. I think that's buckthorn that you see. If you wouldn't mind drawing a 50-foot setback from the property line to show you how far back, where the spruce line would be, I guess, is in the edge of the building with the existing vegetation. I think you were doing that before. So it's 50 feet is the building setback, correct?
I think it's like 45, I thought. On a
45?
45
Okay.
and change.
Yeah. So you can see that's a bit of buckthorn that's beyond the 45 going east of there. And, but that's what's existing on my side. So if you're sitting on the lawn right now and you look at what's adjacent to that, it's either, buckthorn or there are some trees for 5 feet, I think, 10 feet. You can measure it. You can measure it with your thing there. But that's where we would that's where we're planting the vegetation, is right there. It's right next to the building, so. Does that answer the question?
I think so. I just wanted to clarify a couple points and.
Yeah, of how far, how much vegetation how much we're taking back from the existing tree line is, and I can't, do it because I'm not running it, but I'm guessing it's about 5 or 10 feet.
Okay. Commissioner Schaefer.
I wanted to make sure I heard the air conditioning part right. So you have, when you did the initial, or at some point, there was enough air conditioning added that didn't need the capacity that you had available. Did you say you're relocating it, like you're moving it?
We're moving the inside units to the new addition. The outside units are staying in the same place.
But there will be more running to
They all run round robin.
Yes, and you're increasing your space by 45%, so you will have more units running at the same time to cool that 45. You're increasing by almost half. That's significant, right? So they're running round robin. That's great, but they'll be running more concurrently, I would imagine, to cool that additional 9,000 almost square feet.
Yeah, and just to be clear, the use of it is half of the building is used for storage of, spare parts, things that we receive in from the dock. So it's expanding our dock area and receiving area. If you look at the diagram. So if you split the building down the middle, like where it jogs, the right side of it is the additional data storage. The left side of it is storage rooms of equipment and stuff. Yeah, so it's not quite doubling the space that you're describing.
It's not double, you wouldn't have the same cooling requirements for the part storage is what you're saying.
Correct, not for the full 8,000 like we have. So the existing building has the equivalent of 8,000, and we found that, we are using less cooling.
Commissioner Urbani.
Alderman Parrish mentioned in his letter something about this entire area being reviewed and rezoned. Can somebody tell me more about that or what's happening with that?
Well, there's been an effort for years to look at the Port Washington corridor, but I don't believe this specific parcel was being considered for rezoning.
Well, we're looking at redoing the entire code for this whole entire strip. It's not really relevant to this request because this is it's existing use, first of all, and it's permitted under the code. Now, in the future, we may decide to not allow data centers, but under our current code, it was determined back in 2013 that this was permitted under business service. So it is still a conditional use. It's a conditional use because of the building size, not because of the use itself. Now, we may change that in the future, but we're not done with that yet. And I think Alderman Parrish is concerned about, I think, what you see on TV with the very large data centers. You still have the opportunity here, though, even though it's permitted use, you have the opportunity to put restrictions on the building size because it's limited to 20,000 square feet. So if you're concerned about noise, you could make a restriction that no rooftop units should be allowed on that addition going forward. I mean, you can add that as a condition. You can add a condition about existing rooftop units would have to be reviewed and approved before any additional ones are added. So if you're concerned about noise, I think you have the opportunity to do that with any conditions you place on the building itself, because that is a conditional use.
Commissioner Jordan.
Yes, a couple of comments. I think the graphics that you showed where the edge of the building would be is helpful to define how close it gets to the existing vegetation. I think the building will probably help a great deal to block the sound of the generator, so that's a plus. I find it a little disconcerting that in order to meet the floor area ratio, you have to acquire some land to the north, where in a perfect world, it would be great to have that land separating the building from the residence. And I think if we do move forward with approving this, I think the vegetation that they're proposing along the west side of the building would have to be significantly increased. So those just my comments.
And just to clarify, since it is a conditional use, they can actually ask for a waiver to any code standards, so including the FAR, but we told them that we probably would not be supportive of it unless they met the 30% FAR requirement. But under the conditional use code requirements, that does allow for a deviation or waiver to any of the standards in our code. So, but I don't think we want to go down that path for this type of application, but we have done in the past for like a side yard setback on a parking lot for a really narrow lot, things like that. So again, if you're concerned about the loss of vegetation and recouping some of that, we can add that as a condition as well.
Commissioner Ellsworth.
Just wondering if there's been any noise complaints in the past.
Yes, we received numerous complaints over the years. Just a little history. This was the generator was installed, I believe, in 2018, and there was a condition that the generator cannot exceed 65 decibels, and it has to be run during certain times for maintenance. We received numerous complaints from the residents. We did go out and verify over the years the decibel limits. I believe they've been mostly in compliance with the requirement with the 65 decibels at the property line. But I don't know if we received any in the last few years, but I remember at least 4 or 5 years ago, we received numerous complaints when it first went in. Now, again, we don't really regulate rooftop condition or units for sound, but we do require it for generators. Now, again, that's another thing we can add as another condition, that we still, not just the generator, but any noise coming from this facility cannot exceed the 65 decibels. That's another option we could add to this condition if you feel need for that.
Has the complaints are largely centered around the use of the intermittent use of the generator, or?
It was just noise in general. I think it was hard to determine whether it was the generator or the rooftop units. I think it was both.
Well, the one benefit is the placement of the building will push all the generator noise towards Port Washington Road. It won't be going backwards anymore. They're not adding any more rooftop units on the addition, so they're not getting any closer, although the point is taken, they're likely to be running more often. But you might notice a net improvement by shielding the generator noise and pushing it towards the street rather than letting it radiate, unidirectionally in every direction. Commissioner Strelchek.
First of all, in the use of a word data center, we've got Port Washington that's, top of the list, and that's 2.5 million square feet. I just looked it up. I forgot the exact stat. This is 9,000 square feet, which is, the size of some Mequon homes, 2-3 times the size of others, you know what I mean? So it's not a major addition here. I think the biggest concern that we're facing is around sound and noise. And if we can just take a moment to make sure that that's buttoned down and that's addressed. I'm wondering if the applicant would be open to perhaps an additional row of arborvitae over by the generator, knowing that generated some complaints, to try to offset it. And then my other ask from staff and or the applicant is, can we address maybe the rooftop unit and see if there's some noise screening that we can put in, or some noise deadening, something that we can put in between the rooftop units and the resident. Something that's reasonable but not over the top, as far as something for consideration to try to mitigate some of the concern and the ongoing complaints. So I don't know, applicant.
With regard to the generator, can we bring up packet page? Sorry, I'm zoomed way too in.
And then for the
54,
residents,
129.
Alderman Parrish did reach out to me and make sure that I addressed very succinctly the noise concern that you guys had. So he did reach out, even though he's not here tonight.
So I think that definitely appreciate the comments about the noise in the adjacent neighborhood, but I think that with the generator, it's almost completely screened by the building in the proposed plan. That's 129.
Right here.
Zoom way in. Here, right now, that's all open straight to the back. The generator's. Can you put the cursor over the generator? Yeah, it's that rectangle right there.
Yeah.
There's no way this won't help with the generator noise. It's going to make all that noise reflect off that wall and push towards Port Washington Road where it belongs. But with regard to the rooftop units, arborvitae in back won't do anything for that because it's just right across the roof line. But I wonder if almost screening to just a false wall, screening to the back to just give it another surface to reflect off and push towards the road might be enough.
Between the addition and the main building or current building, maybe like a false parapet in a sense between the two?
Yeah, a false parapet wall in front of those existing rooftop units would at least give it something to bounce off of and direct the sound the other way away from the residential neighborhood. It wouldn't be terribly expensive to construct.
I'm open to that, certainly as long as it adheres to like height restrictions and things like that. I'd be completely open to.
Yeah, we're not near a height issue here.
Yeah, to adding, even to the existing, like you said, on the existing building or on the new building, whichever effectively works better from a engineer's study perspective, whether or not we put, like you described, the materials on the west rooftop of the existing building or the east rooftop or anywhere along the new addition, wherever it's most effective. I'm not a sound engineer, so I don't know where those would go. But I think it would even improve, what I hear is the existing hum that they hear today. I'd imagine it would improve that.
That might be a very easy to implement, reasonable solution to, not going to make it go away, but it should improve things. Commissioner Chorin.
Do the rooftop units have anything around them now?
They have nothing at all.
Because they do make screens that go around them. They're
Absolutely.
Pretty simple. So that's an option. And my suspicion is that the wall between the existing and the new might be a firewall. And so you carry it up a little bit further. That's another option. So either way, whatever would
Yeah,
be.
if we get to making a motion, we could leave it flexible for
Right,
one of those solutions, whatever's more effective.
right.
Any other questions or feedback from the commission or a motion?
I like making a motion because then the conditions are added in. I'd like to move approval with the condition that the applicant work with staff to try to screen some of the sound coming from the existing air conditioning units, either via increasing that firewall height just as a barrier, or look at some additional screening opportunities to reduce it over time. And if you have any bumps in the road, just, feel free to come back, I guess.
I guess I would try to make a little more clarification to that. I would state that they'd have to provide a screening wall or parapet wall no less height than the tallest piece of equipment that's out there, and that the not only the generator but the AC unit shall not exceed 65 decibels at any given moment. And then if you want to add a condition about any landscaping screening that is being removed shall be replaced in accordance with staff's approval. So those would be my three.
I would add that additionally to it. Is that acceptable to the applicant?
Yes.
It all sounds kind of in line and reasonable, so thank you.
So the motion is approve as written with what Jack just said.
Yes.
Okay.
Second,
That's why we record these things.
second.
Motion and a second. Okay. Any other comments or feedback from the commission? Hearing and seeing none, let's call the roll.
Commissioner Ellsworth. Commissioner Hawley.
Aye.
Commissioner Schaefer.
Aye.
Commissioner Urbani.
Aye.
Commissioner Barnes.
Aye.
Commissioner Chorin.
Aye.
Alderman Stralcheck.
Aye.
Mayor Nurbin.
Aye.
Vote passes.
All right. Good luck working with staff. I think we'll make a big improvement to what's there between those added conditions and the screen and the generator. So best of luck. Thank you. Next, we have two items of regular business. The first is P2 Development. The applicant is seeking a development agreement approval for the property located at 11000 through 11040 North Bruntrock Avenue and 10971 through 11019 North Weston Drive. And was this? No. Okay, thanks. Take it away, staff. I don't believe we have any public comment on this item.
Okay. I'll give a staff overview on this one since it's 99% engineering stuff. I'll highlight the changes, the main changes from our DA template. The redlined template is in the packet, as well as a couple exhibits to try to better inform how this development is occurring as far as timeline. The applicant is requesting to phase it into 4 phases. There's a couple buildings in each phase that are defined in the, let's see, page 171 of the phasing plan. So a lot of the changes are just relating to that phasing and how we're going to lay it out, because our template is mostly written for residential subdivisions, refers to final plat. We had to change those phrases and such. The other changes, community development is requiring the developer to install the standard town center streetscape features, as well as we're going to require to extend curb and gutter and sidewalk along Buntrock Avenue to the south property line, which is the west side of this development. The city is offering to reimburse a portion of that work along Buntrock because some of that was previously installed and now has to be kind of torn out and redone. It'll also establish for the work on Buntrock, a portion of that work's going to be in the road pavement and it's adjacent to the school. So we're going to put work restriction hours on that work if it's occurring during school. Hopefully it'll be done before then, but that was another important thing we wanted to add in. The developer will also be required to extend sidewalk along Weston Drive and connect to the future E3 development, which was also here a couple months ago. That'll make a continuous sidewalk connection all the way down from the existing E1 and E2 building to the south portion of this development. And then we also put a timeline just in case phasing doesn't go as planned. We also wanted at least the public improvements to be installed within 5 years of the approval date of this development agreement. And then we just wanted to change one thing in that actually exhibit that Jack has up on the screen. We kind of added restrictions in on when each building permit can be issued versus the certificate of occupancy. Since phase 2 is going to be proposed likely during winter, the developer just asked for that second timeline to be changed from 90 days to 120 days, which staff was okay with. But otherwise, happy to answer any other questions. Those were the main changes from the normal DA.
Thank you, Cole. Any question from anyone on the commission? Commissioner Stralchek.
The mixed use building, like,
yes,
I wasn't seeing like the phasing. There's a lot of pages here and a lot of like very technical drawings, and I bounce from place to place, and I'm admitting to getting a little confusing going between the phasing and understanding what's going on. I understand what you're talking about with the public infrastructure, the buildings, but what's the mixed use building is a mixed, describe what's that is again?
So this DA is actually only governing the property other than that mixed use building. And if Jack wants to pull up the map, then we can kind of circle it. But this will just be phasing based on the apartment buildings. The mixed use building will be a future DA, and it's actually a different property at this point after the CSM that was approved last time. I don't know of the schedule for that one, but this is just governing the apartment buildings.
My biggest challenge is that I approve residential with mixed use buildings based on the fact that the mixed use is being built. I don't care if we have extra residential in this area. My goal was to mix the two. So to not know the timeline on the mixed use building, what I don't want to see happen, which we have in one location already in Mequon, is where the residential is built and the mixed use building is still not constructed multiple years later. And I haven't heard of any plans coming forward. So can we talk a little bit about what is in place for that to ensure that that moves forward, or if there's any way that we can add a condition onto that to make sure that it does move forward?
Unfortunately, that's a really difficult thing to do, and I think you're referring to the E3 building or the reserve, the parcel in front of the reserve. We had the same issue there, and unfortunately, it's hard for us to get involved with the market conditions. I mean, we don't want to see a vacant building up either. All we can do, like in this case, what we required is that the streetscaping along Weston, as you can see on the map, that all has to be done, and then the site itself would just have to be grassed over, so similar to what we did in front of the reserve. Now, again, they've marketed the site, they've tried to develop it, they just haven't had a buyer for the site to do anything with it. So I understand your concern. I'm not sure there's anything we can do other than prohibiting development of certain portions of this development until that commercial is built, and that puts this portion at a little bit of a risk, maybe, in a sense, that the developer who doesn't want to build he wants to build all these units, obviously, and if we tell him after 25, 30 units, you have to stop until that commercial is done, I don't know if that's necessarily a fair thing either. So I think all we can do is mitigate the potential issues by requiring the streetscaping to be put in, the sidewalk to be put in, and then I guess we have to let the market decide whether that commercial building gets done now or later. I don't know what else we can do at this point, unless you want to hamstring this portion of the development.
My struggle is that we go to market and it doesn't happen.
Yeah, I know. I get it. I agree with you.
As I'm sitting right now, I'm in support of this development, but it's not hinged on the mixed-use building.
Yeah.
And I voted for approval on this because the mixed-use building would be included. So I'm a no vote at this point on that one premise only, even though I do support the development.
Again, so the zoning's been approved. This is the development agreement for this portion. So, I mean, I guess you could still vote against the development agreement for this portion, or we could add a condition saying that the remaining undeveloped land has to be done within a certain amount of time frame. But I guess if it doesn't happen at that point, I'm not sure what our recourse is if this is all done. And so if we say 5 years and this is all built out in 5 years and that's not done, I don't know, we can't force them to build a building. So it becomes difficult for us to take any action against them.
We could if there was a condition in on it with this, or at least a plan, you know, some actionable plan. So it's a sticking point of mine. Might not be in agreement to the rest of my fellow commissioners, but
Well, I think we all want to see that building built. It's just that you know the market sometimes dictates when things get built. And
The irony is, the market's got to be there, and at some level, the mere fact that these homes or these side-by-side units exist may actually help that come about faster by providing extra built-in consumers. It's definitely not going to hurt it. You got more of a captive audience with more units in that location. So I definitely appreciate the concern. We'd like to see the whole thing built out and built out soon, but I do think we have to be a little patient and let things come at the pace the market wants to bring them to. And this definitely won't hurt the overall conditions in this area, just from a standpoint of you're bringing in more consumers, captive audience right there where it's going to happen. Did I see a hand raised?
so I'm not.
Oh, you're not done yet?
Yeah,
Okay.
just as a policy standpoint, I don't think that that's a really good policy standpoint to grounds to stand on, build it and hope that the market, allows for it later. We had it, it was a group thing on the plan, but there's no plan for the part that the rest of Mequon would want to include. Now, granted, there's benefit and value to building this for the tax basis and some of those other things, and I guess that's how maybe my district residents would care, but I can pretty much assure you that there's not many people, unless they have ownership, rights with this development in District 1, would really care if these got built without the retail or the mixed use. They want to see the mixed use and a reason to go to town center. So just a little awkward moment. I'll be a no vote tonight just based on the premise that there's not the mixed use plan in there. I think that principally is a no vote for me. I'd encourage other commissioners to evaluate and vote as they wish. Whether you follow my suit or not, I respect it. But I just wanted to make that kind of clear statement that, when we came up with the concept of town center, it was a mixed use walkable community with, really great residential opportunities. And the residential opportunities for the developers are where the ROI is, right? The mixed use isn't currently because that market's a little soft on it. So in approving a larger development with higher residential uses, and saying that you have to have a portion of mixed use for approval per policy and standard, there should be plans for that to be built when, this comes forward for the approval to go forward on this one. So, all right, I've spoken my piece. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll remind everyone, though, that it was the Common Council themselves that limited the type of apartment buildings that could be built in this. And this is a direct result of that action. These side-by-side units are what we said we wanted.
Agreed.
So I don't think we can make all the rules and tell the free market what is economically viable or not at any given point in time. I think this is clearly what's economically viable now, and that's why we're getting it. Conditions may change and the other might become more economically viable later, or it may become more economically viable because we let this go forward. But I guess, in my view, and I respect your point of view, but we don't get to pick and choose and tell the economy what's hot at the moment. We're not that good. If we were, we'd all be millionaires and doing something else. Commissioner Abani.
I absolutely see what both of you are saying, and the fact that we approved it with this requirement in there, then it should be there. However, I'm struggling between imagining a building with empty stores in it versus a plot of grass where all those residents are probably going to walk their dogs,
Well,
actually.
they're separate developments.
Well, no, I mean, it's all next to each other.
Yeah, but they're separate developments.
They're separate ownership entities, but I think I agree with your point. I think the point you're trying to make is you'd rather see a green space than just a vacant storefront.
I'd rather see.
I'm just
I'd
saying
rather
that
see
this
stores
particular
filled.
developer and this group of people didn't propose the other one. They're all in the same area and they're separate. They're not going back on a promise they made. This is their development. That was another development. So and they're related.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
So
So it wasn't hinged
There was
one
no
upon
bait
the
and
other.
switch. I don't think I don't want anyone to insinuate there's a bait and switch here. This is separate from that, and that may happen someday, and we'd all like it to happen, but
Yeah, I think it's similar to the E3 building, which hasn't been built yet either. If we had really pushed our guns, we could have said you're not going to allow to build apartments until that's done, but we didn't do that either because we weren't sure what the market was going to do for that building. And so I think it's kind of a similar situation. I think this one's even less of an issue because the other one actually had an incentive based on getting it done, which they're kind of up against right now. So this one, there's no financial incentives for this project. This is all being done by the developer's nickel. So I think this one's a little bit easier to at least address the issue of market conditions versus the other one. So.
any other questions or feedback on this proposal from the commission? All right, must be ready for a motion.
Oh, Bob has some questions, I think.
Oh, sure. Go ahead, sir.
Hi, Robert Bach. P2 Development is doing the residential aspect of this. We've done other residential things along Buntrock and on Weston in conjunction with Tom Neiman's organization. We've worked with him on this. He actually was the one that acquired the land. We went into a partnership as to how to develop it. He wanted to do the mixed-use building, and we wanted to do the residential. To give you a little insight, and I did bring this up on some of our earlier meetings, people wanted to know what was going in there, some kind of tentative time frame. And the intent is after E3, which is just across the street, kitty corner, which they're very close to breaking ground on. They've had a number of issues with that. It was originally scheduled for a basement. The high water table, because of the big detention pond, precluded that from happening, so they had to redesign that. Had a number of issues with We Energies having to relocate a lot of their infrastructure, and they're this close to getting started on it within the very near future. The plan is that upon completion of that, they would like to start getting going on across the street, this mixed-use building. I know in conversations with Tom Neiman and his staff, they actually had some people already that they've been discussing with as far as taking occupancy in it. And again, it's only talk at this time, but there's no plan not to pursue it vigorously. I mean, that was never anybody's intent. And we've done a fair amount of development in the Mequon, and we pretty well stick with what we say. And so I would like you to, consider that there's every intent to get started on that, not to leave it a grassy knoll, which would benefit it wouldn't benefit anybody. And the additional residential around it will definitely help that, and the existing Foxtown retail things that have been developed there and across the street over at City Market and things like that. Any other questions I could answer?
Looks like it. Thank you for that added little bit of information there.
Thanks.
Commissioner Chorin.
Make a motion to approve based on staff's recommendations.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
No.
We got a no, okay. Very good. Best of luck. Next up, we have Bonnie Lake Real Estate LLC. The applicant is seeking a concept plan approval to allow for a proposed 16-lot, single-family residential subdivision on approximately 42 acres for the property located at 13669 North Port Washington Road and the two properties immediately south and to the west. We have a number of people here this evening who wish to speak on this item. The first is Susan Falkman. States they're on the fence and wishes to speak. Address is 1531 West Bonniewell Road.
I thought I'd be speaking after the presentation was made, but in any case, what I want to speak to is the perennial issue of water management. Uleo Creek drains a huge swath of land as it flows through parts of Grafton and Mequon on its way to the Milwaukee River. The land use changes in Grafton, of which there have been many, affect the water levels on Bonniewell Road during the ever more frequent 100-year floods. I have lived on Bonniewell Road for 35 years. 10 of those years I served on this plan commission, hearing similar stories to those you're hearing today. And I have been a firsthand witness for 35 years to the changes in the water that drains through my little corner of Mequon. I'm sure Public Works can attest to the number of times they put out and then pick up the barricades that close the road that runs in front of my house. Residents must park their cars down by Port Washington Road, wade through the water in hip boots to leave their residence. And this is not just every 100 years, but a couple times a year. The residents living in the two subdivisions west of Oriole Lane have been able to drive out from their properties using Oriole Lane. That was until this year. This year, the water was so high that it flooded the bridge there at Oriole Lane on Bonniewell Road. No entering, no exiting for over 36 hours. I am mentioning this because it pertains to this subdivision proposal. As the city okays new developments, we must protect the existing ones. I am not against this subdivision. It's a great site for residential development, as long as it doesn't negatively affect existing residents. I appreciate all the attention to the amenities on this site. But the concerns I have are with the standards that are used for storm water runoff. In this area with an already fragile balance, adding any additional runoff would have a negative effect on current residents. I understand the city has great controls in place. I'm just not sure that one size does fit all. The city requires a comprehensive storm water quality and quantity management. I guess what I'm requesting is particular vigorous standards in this case. And most importantly, in regards to additional fill and getting an okay from the DNR, I request that there be absolutely no fill without a corresponding adjustment to the detention basins. It isn't just a matter of the city saying, get an approval from the DNR if you want to add fill. I'm hoping the city will be on top of, I know they try to be, but on top of each part of this proposal if it goes through. And perhaps even consider a 15 lot to reduce, again, some of the runoff from the impermeable surfaces. And then there would be space for additional retention ponds. I do understand that financial considerations make a 16 lot or a 15 lot just not feasible. But for the city, the financial considerations of how to handle the flooding on Bonnywell Road is perhaps greater than the considerations of the developer. So if this project goes through, which I don't mind if it does, except I mind if we have more flooding. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Robbie V. Wishes to speak, 1908 West Bonnywell Road.
Hi, good evening. I just live a little bit west of the proposed site here. One thing we all know about our area, our neighbors, is that we get a lot of water. It doesn't take too much rainfall to flood our properties. Many of our properties do get flooded frequently in a year. I'm just concerned about this construction here, which is going to add impermeable units and structures on the way. Where's the water going to go? It's going to escape beyond its hypothetical boundaries and flood our properties even more. I'm also concerned about some neighbors who don't have an existing concern with flooding. They might have to start worry about that. The city did a great job last year. Came over and they removed some big logs that get washed off as a result of the runoff. There's big logs that get stuck under the creek bridge. That made a big difference. One concern I have is that the city may have to spend more time as a result of this proposed construction, maybe not, possibly strain their resources in putting more work in clearing the runoff so that there is no backup of flood water. And what about the flood premiums? My mortgage requires me to have a flood insurance. I'm just concerned about my premiums going up and other residents who don't have flood insurance right now needing to take flood insurance. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Ryan Van Engel, wishes to speak, 1722 West Bonnywell Road.
Sorry, I gotta lift it up a little bit for me, or I can lean.
You can just pick it up too.
Oh,
It's
that's okay.
Too much.
With my voice, usually I don't need a microphone. But thank you very much for allowing me to speak. Again, I haven't lived there as long as Susan has. I've been here for about 10 years. And I am not going to belabor the point, but it's the same. It's more based on the water and the water effects that we have, even in the smallest amount of rains. When I have to wade through knee-deep water on the road, which I got great pictures of because my kids thought it was awesome. That's right at that blue section that's right on Bonnywell Road, right next to the first house that's there. And on both sides, those places turn into lakes. So understanding where that water is going to go, even from a bus route, I mean, there have been plenty of times we've had to try to figure out how to pick up our kids on Port Washington Road because the buses can't go through standing water, which is good. And I appreciate their safety as well. So I feel like there's a lot of availability for that to get worse. And I appreciate the retention ponds, but when I'm standing at 4 feet of water on the road, if the pond is overflowing, I don't know where that water is going to go. And I also don't want awesome developments like this to sit either vacant or high turnovers because people don't understand what they might be getting into. On my first year, one of our neighbors politely said that I didn't know I was getting into island living. And as much as I love island living, it was freaking me out. But he said, don't worry, your basement never floods, which I did appreciate because some of these people who have lived here as long as they have really know what they're talking about. So appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next, we have Jonathan Weir and Gordon Wood, who wish to speak at 2020 and 2030 West Bonnywell Road.
Hi, Mayor. Hi, Commissioners. It's just me. It's just John Wire here. I grew up in Mequon, moved back to Mequon about 4 years ago with my husband, Gordon. If you look at the map there and you see that big blue spot, we are the land directly to the left of it. So we have the 15 acres west of that land and closest to the creek. We've experienced many of the things that Susan and Ryan have talked about. We were trapped in our house this last year, which makes it difficult to get to work, difficult to get anywhere. And so I share many of the same concerns, even though I'm not as familiar with the property being just a little bit back where sort of set back towards the Martin Way area, and we're up on a little bit of a higher piece of land. But Ryan said he has island living. We have lakefront living when the creek creeps up to our house, and it gets rather close. So what I'm concerned with, and I haven't looked through the plan probably as closely as I should, but I noticed that there was a lot of uncertainty in the plan. There were no yield plans, there were no open space plans. I didn't see a lot about the environmental impacts of putting this much impervious surface in an area that's basically flat farmland, and nothing is going to soak through those areas where there's a road, a driveway. I think there's a mound for every house in there, and I don't know what the effects of that are. So I hope that we're early enough in the process that we can, as neighbors, look at this and make sure that we have the ability to give some more input. The other things I'm concerned about are just the density of a subdivision like this. I know that it says that it's one house per 2.46 acres, but that doesn't mean that each lot is 2.46 acres, because there's so much of that land that's not buildable. And we own a lot of that non-buildable land, and it's beautiful. So I think there's some uncertainty with this plan, and I think it's truly a concept plan that I'm not comfortable with, and I'm not ready for it. I haven't thought it out. I think it overlooks many, many things. I want to support it, or at least be neutral, but I don't think we have details that allow us to do that. So maybe if there was a way to do it in a gentler, more gradual, preservationist, responsible, conservative, beautiful way of doing it, maybe I would feel differently. But at this point, I have a lot of concerns with the plan. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next, we have Maru Thakur. Opposes. Okay, so don't wish to speak? No, I don't. Okay, and then Anita Thakur? Same. Same? Okay, opposes and doesn't wish to speak, but both at 13706 North Martin Way in Mequon. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak that didn't fill out a yellow card? Oh, sure. Sure, just come up to the podium and state your name and address for the record, and they'll write it down, and feel free to ask your question. Or
I'm Susan Brown Williamson. I live at 1704 West Bonnewell Road. I don't see in the plan where it indicates slope. Is there any kind of topographical thing that indicates, I mean, because if otherwise, where the southernmost lots are there, it would seem that they're all going to run south. And my second question is, what's the impact on Uleo Creek there near the corner? There's a lot going on right there at the entrance. So has this been run by the DNR yet? Not that they don't seem to side with development a bit around here, but so those are my two questions. And yeah, I'd like to see some kind of information about where the runoff for this development is going to go. And there doesn't seem to be anything on the south, except for there's that little retention pond, but what's the elevation of that? What's the capacity of that? And where does the water go when it overflows? And this year I got to spend a night in a hotel because I couldn't get to my house because I was out of town when it rained. So yeah, Bonnewell Road floods, and it's especially bad at Oriole Lane in Bonnewell, but it does flood between Port Road and the houses, the existing houses on Bonnewell. So those are my questions.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Any other people who wish to speak? Yes, ma'am, come on up, and same thing, state your name and address, and you'll be heard.
My name is Mary McIntosh. I live in Grafton at 1050 Lakeshore Road. However, I am the owner of the corner lot, the southwest corner of Bonnewell and Port Washington Road. And I haven't seen the site plan for the building, so I have concern for future. I have like a 4-acre lot on the corner, and I did have half ownership in the lot just to the north, which is basically swamp. And so I also have issues about where's all the water going, because I'm already, the swamp, as I call it, is very full and it kind of surrounds. So what feasibility I might have in the future for selling my lot, I was looking online and I didn't see the plan. But my main concern is the water and access into this subdivision. I don't have any opposition to it, but I'd like to see some more, like, is that water going to come more to me so that my 4 acres is going to get diminished even more? I know I can do fill in there to a degree amount, but still the long-term effect on my corner lot is my concern, and the water. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else before we close public input? All right. So back to staff, and maybe start out and explain what a concept plan is and isn't, and some of our stormwater. I see Cole getting up to explain our stormwater regulations and such. So Natalie, can you kick this off? Thank you.
Yeah, I can touch on some of the zoning code requirements. And again, this is concept plan approval, so it's very preliminary stage in the subdivision's approval. There will be other requirements for open space plans and landscaping plans, as well as, the preliminary plat where there's further opportunity for public input and planning commission input. So this is kind of the first step in the process for this approval. And then I'll leave stormwater questions and drainage concerns to Cole after. So again, this is concept plan approval. It is for a residential cluster development in the Uleo Creek Residential Cluster Zoning District. The concept plan, as it's laid out, shows lot layouts that can accommodate the required setbacks, offsets the minimum lot widths, and the maximum lot coverage standards per the code. Again, someone stated this, but the density is roughly one dwelling unit per 2.54 acres. The concept plan, as you can see on the screen, identifies different environmental features that are existing on the property, which includes the floodplains, wetlands, specimen trees, and drainage corridors. There's a clustering of specimen trees near and around Lot 16. That's the lot that's closest to Port Washington Road. We are therefore requiring that as a condition of approval, the plat indicate a protective specimen tree preservation easement to the extent which will be required by the city forester, with protective measures and the prohibition of removal of any tree or disturbance within that area. In terms of connectivity, the UCR code requires an internal roadside sidewalk concurrent with roadway construction, and that'll serve as bikeway and pedestrian paths to connect the internal site to the external amenities in the area, or external amenities to come. The sidewalk is shown on the plan here. It's starting at Port Washington Road and extends along lots 1 and 4. It's pretty thin, so it's hard to see in the plans, but it is there. We're requiring that it also extend through the internal street network adjacent to lots 7 and 8, so kind of coming down that second road there, and then connecting to where that proposed grass path is shown, just to further the pedestrian circulation system that's already being shown. We're also requiring that the sidewalk extend to that future connection to the north, as you can see. So it kind of stops there, but we want that to go up to the property line for any future development and future points of connection. The code also requires the construction of an 8-foot multi-use path that is shown on the plan, and that path should extend to the southern property line there to ensure future connectivity as well. And again, further details on some of the path locations and material will be subject to the open space plan approval down the line. There's certain requirements per the code of Uleo Creek lighting fixtures and street landscaping patterns along Port Washington Road. Those are shown. The spacing isn't specified here, but they are shown along the multi-use path on Port Washington Road. And again, that will also be part of the open space plan and the street tree plan approval to come. In terms of open space requirements, the plan is showing compliance with the 30% open space requirement. It's showing 47.2% of the overall property as open space. Again, submittal of a formal open space plan will be required as part of the future phases of the subdivision approval. And again, that will kind of confirm that those areas dedicated to open space meet the minimum requirement of 5,000 square feet each. The UCRC code requires certain entry features, including signage and landscaping. The entrance island is currently showing a We Energy streetlight, and we're asking that that be a Uleo Creek neighborhood fixture. There's an extensive list of conditions associated with the approval. A lot of those relate to, again, as certain individuals from the public stated, some of the future to come stages of approval for the subdivision. But we're recommending approval, and I'll leave it to Cole to talk about stormwater and drainage.
Yeah, so we can go over floodplain and stormwater separately. They're kind of the same thing, but they're also kind of different. So the first thing we can talk about stormwater. City as well as MMSD as well as DNR has regulations and criteria that each development needs to meet. When you're adding impervious surface like this, when you're adding homes, pavement, that's going to cause additional and faster runoff on the site. In order to meet the requirements of our ordinance and other regulations, what the developer needs to do is capture that runoff and store it in the devices that they choose to put on the site. And the criteria that they need to meet basically is that the flow rate of the runoff after the development is less than before the development. Our ordinance is actually a little bit more restrictive than that. They have to actually meet a certain runoff that's basically this site as picture it as like a forested area. We have a special criteria that makes that that puts that criteria in place for Mequon. So that's the stormwater portion. We're not at the point where I know there's some comments about elevations and storage and things like that. This is just concept plan that would all be reviewed with the civil and stormwater management plan, which usually comes along with the preliminary plat and development agreement, which would be a future application. We've put special stormwater regulations at times on certain developments. It's fairly rare, but if that was something that we were looking to do with this development, that probably wouldn't necessarily be appropriate at this point. Certainly happy to talk about it, but that's probably more of a technical development agreement type thing to add in. So the second thing with floodplain, and maybe Jack can help me out, there's a lot of different shades of blue on here. The very dark blue on here, Jack, please correct me if I'm wrong because I can't read any of this, but the dark blue is, I believe, the floodway. So that's basically showing the 100-year storm event picture, like moving water through this area. So that's near the creek and part of this southern tip here. The sort of lighter grayish blue that's kind of on the fringe of that area is the floodplain. Also 100-year storm event modeled that's more stagnant water. I would say the only thing to note with the floodplain is, stormwater management on this site. I would love if, a developer could magically make the floodplain go down adjacent to their site. It's not exactly how it works, unfortunately. It's, a lot of things happen upstream that have caused the floodplain to be this over the years, and our current precipitation rates, as people have mentioned, we've gotten 200-year storms in the past year, so that all kind of plays into it. One thing I wanted to note is there's the storm pond on the south side of the development. There's a partial infringement into the floodplain there. That's not something that's prohibited necessarily. It just requires an extra authorization. But if there are floodplain concerns, maybe that's one other point that could be a consideration, is to prevent that floodplain fill at that location. I think, let me know if I need to answer any other questions.
I think that generally covers it unless there's specific questions from the commission. People ready to ask questions on the commission? Commissioner Ellsworth.
So I'm just noticing that it looks like the average acreage is about 1 acre. Is that correct? Per lot?
Yes, the zoning allows 30,000 square foot lots where all of our lots are over 40,000 square feet. So the lot area, an acre is 43,560. So our lot area is, I believe, a little over 40,000, almost 41,000 as an average. In this zoning, which is a new zoning, so this is a new, all of the bike path walkway things are part of this new zoning. So there's not an example that we can compare it to. So we think we've met most of them, and Natalie has asked for some modifications to that. But the yield plan for this Uleo Creek residential cluster is done at 3/4 acre lots. That's 32,670 square feet. So the yield plan shows more than 16 lots. And we have that, we can submit that to the city, but typically the yield plan, doesn't show more lots. It shows what we hope to get. The reason we aren't pushing for as many lots as the yield plan would allow, or for 30,000 square foot lots, is because the developer here is Victory Homes. They're looking for larger lots than they're currently having available on Highland, but we also have to have septic mounds. We have done all of the septic testing, both with the county and with the state. So the septic mound preferred locations are shown on the site. Those are all sized as 4-bedroom septic mounds. And so we went to a larger lot with more open space, which again reduces the amount of impervious area. So.
What was the ideal lot that you're talking about past this lot of an acre, approximately? So 3/4 of an acre is the median acreage?
3/4 of an acre is smaller than what we would like to have.
That's what's permissible in the zoning district.
But it's permissible in the zoning. 30,000, which is less than 3/4 acres, permissible in the zoning. The yield plan is supposed to be done at 3/4 of an acre, and we've chosen to go to 40,000 square feet because of the mound locations and trying to accommodate the homes that we have. And the other comment, and Cole can comment about it, is the stormwater management plan is done based on the amount of impervious area. So if there are 15 or 16 lots, the stormwater plan addresses the number of lots in the impervious area. So it's, each time there's lots or impervious area added, there's additional stormwater containment in the ponds. And our goal here is to diminish the amount of roadway, for the number of lots. And frequently when you diminish the number of lots, you still have the same amount of roadway. So it becomes a transfer that doesn't, change really the outcome, the flow. So the post-construction flow is equal to or less than the pre-development flow. And as Cole said, the pre-development flow goes all the way back to forever. We're not looking for a credit for the fact that this was once partially developed or that it's currently farmed, which has a different runoff than the whatever period of, forested wetland, whatever would be. So if I can just address two things that were brought up from some of the comments from the neighbors and also Natalie's comment. We don't disagree with adding the additional sidewalks that are there. It's part of the 10-mile linear park that is envisioned in the future. We're looking at connection to the future development to the north. My direction to the civil engineer was to put the roadway 150 feet from that development. He put the right-of-way there so we can move the cul-de-sac bulb there. So that in the meantime, we don't need a hammerhead configuration. The cul-de-sac would be within 150 feet. The pavement in the future, if it was developed, would be within that 150-foot requirement. Again, less pavement solves the same problem. And then we would put that sidewalk connection in instead of a grass path connection up there. And then just to address the southern pond, the reason Kevin Parrish, the civil engineer who's working with me on other subdivisions in Mequon, the reason he identified it that way is because we can contain more water in there, and we can, working with the floodplain management people with the city, we can offset, the volume of that fill, but we can more than offset it by having a much more efficient pond if we're not trying to go circuitous around the that piece which is floodplain. That's the stable water, not the flowing water. And then I agree with the neighbors. There's a lot of water coming across Bonnywell, and what's interesting is it comes both north and south. So then in the return, if it came from the south and went north, then it recedes back the other way. So there are a couple of crossing points on Bonnywell. We aren't making any of those worths. We're not having any impact on Uleo Creek. And my 30-plus year history with the city is to provide stormwater ponds that do cycle, they do fill up, and they do drain like they're supposed to, and that's what we'd be designing and implementing here. So, sorry.
I appreciate that info.
Thanks.
Commissioner Chorin.
I don't know if this is for Cole or for you, Fred. That south detention pond.
Yep.
Would that help with the flooding situation? Would it be large enough, deep enough to, in a heavy rain situation, actually aid the neighbors?
Well, so again, Cole can address that, but the current condition is that this is a largely farmed parcel. It's been poorly managed. That gave us some challenges as we identified mound sites because there's been erosion and things like that. And it flows, especially when it's not vegetated, spring, fall, flows much faster than a vegetated site. So we will be improving the current flow condition to take it back to as though it's currently always vegetated. So by design, we're increasing the amount of water that stays on the site for a longer period of time. And if it stays on the site for a longer period of time, it has a chance to infiltrate. But the ponds are designed to hold water because one of their goals is to be still and take the solids out so the solids don't pollute our water down the way. So we don't have infiltration ponds. But we also in this area don't have infiltration soils. So the water that sits in a pond evaporates, it doesn't perk in. But I don't know what the difference between the vegetated condition and the actual condition is, but that piece of improvement is already baked into any development. And then we do what we can to minimize the amount of impact. And the other comment, now that this picture is up there, and actually if Jack goes down a little to the south, we do kind of think we want to reconfigure lot 16 so that those last two walnut trees, the two clusters that are there, become off the lot. There's no reason for additional supervision on the part of the city to make sure nobody cuts those trees down. We'd rather put those in the public area, in the common area. So we would reconfigure that again now that those trees have been delineated. So our goal is to keep the subdivision sort of self-sustaining. So yes, Marty, in answer to your question, we will be providing a better condition for these 40 acres, but the watershed is many thousand.
Yeah, I think I don't remember off the top of my head, but you need to design the pond so that basically water can actually get there from the development you're trying to treat, because if you put the pond too low or too close to the floodplain and it's immediately full, and now you're not really storing anything, it's just becoming part of the rest of it. There's some sort of elevation that you have to meet. I can't remember off the top of my head. So kind of no.
And the site is not as flat as it looks. There is topography, so we're collecting all of our water at the perimeter, so we have full perimeter capture, and we are taking water that's flowing northbound to the northeast pond, and the other water that's coming to the south to the south center pond. So we are using that existing topography. And we can't change the grade very much because we can't modify the mound sites at all. So every one of those mound sites is a do not disturb area, which is a significant piece of the property and doesn't allow us to make, major changes one way or the other. So there was a fill permit mentioned. All subdivisions require fill permits because the bringing on of road gravel and other things like that is considered part of that fill permit for the subdivision. So we don't plan on bringing any berm fill or anything like that in like we have on other subdivisions. So.
Any other questions? Commissioner Urbani.
I'm not sure if I have a question in here, but I would like to understand at some point, it doesn't have to be tonight, more about the movement of the water. You're talking about that there's the dark blue section in the center towards that right up against Bonnewell Road. And it looks like, if those are topography numbers, that it goes from 666 in the pond to 665 out of the pond, and then it's moving water below that. So are we going to actually, I just want to understand more about the movement of the water. And like I said, it doesn't have to be answered tonight. And kind of along with that, in that same channel, up at that top northeast pond, the topography numbers look like 675, and right at the road, it says 670. Is there a chance that you could flood out your own road as the water is moving towards the floodplain across the street and then down towards that moving section at the bottom? So I'm thinking about water. That was brought up a lot.
That's existing topography, not final.
These are just, so this is just what's there now?
Yeah.
Okay.
That, at the concept phase, they haven't planned out any of that yet. This
Okay.
is, or maybe you've thought about it.
Yeah,
but
we've
these are
taken a lot of
existing-
that into consideration, but so Commissioner Urbani, to kind of, the water on the left side of the map, on the west side of the site, that water's flowing through and going to the southwest. And as that water's flowing through, it's broadening up. The water on the southeast side of the site is backing up from elsewhere. That's not water that's flowing through. So that's backing up, and then it drains back out again after the storm event. And there's more of that going on at the Ascension property and things like that. But the primary creek flow, and the creek is about as wide as this table as it crosses our property, but it doesn't stay within its channels very long. I mean, when it starts flowing, it goes beyond that. Right now, if Jack went back to the other plan, right now the farming is occurring to the line between the dark blue with contour lines in it and the dark blue with wetland spots on the left. We're not, we're going to let that go back natural. So that significant strip along the west side that's currently being farmed is going to become full-time vegetation. We didn't include any of that in the lots because somebody mentioned flood insurance. If you have a piece of floodplain in your lot, now you're in the floodplain. So we didn't include any floodplain or floodway in any of the lots, and we created a buffer there, beyond that, so that we've got that comfort level. So.
Yeah, just to give you a little bit more insight from a floodplain perspective, this is a very complicated site because when you see the site as a whole, there's water that flows this way, and there's water that flows this way, and water flows this way, and there's a confluence in that before it gets into the Milwaukee River. So that's why it does back up here. You got flow from south to north, you got flow from north to south, and you have some from west to east or east to west. So, and it all kind of meets together in this area here, and then eventually gets to the Milwaukee River. So this is why this area is a very wet area during flood events.
Yeah, and the piece that Jack showed that flows east to west, first it flows west to east, goes under the freeway and goes all the way up, and then it comes back and drains down again.
Yeah, it's very complicated over there.
Yeah, and it takes a long time to do that.
Commissioner Stolchak.
How much fill are you anticipating bringing in? You said earlier in a statement that you didn't anticipate you were going to bring in any for the grading portion of it?
Yes, we don't have any, in fact, we can't accommodate the basement excavation on the lots, so that will be like typical, be trucked off the site. We don't have any fill sites, anticipated on the site. And the material we remove for the roadways to do the roadway grading, the bulk of that will be used to build the pond berms. around the area. But then we'll bring in road gravel and, driveway materials and things like that. So we don't have a fill permit because of berming or things like that. So it's a truck off site.
Once the grading's complete and the basements are dug, how high above grade are you anticipating that first floor entry would be above the basement height?
It depends a little bit on the area of the road, but the center group of houses are sort of up the hill. Again, we're maintaining the existing grade and existing soil for the mounds. The mounds are set on different angles because they're following the contours, the slopes. You need to have a side slope on the mounds so you can sort of identify the grading, existing grading and better soils based on the way the mounds are going. And many of those mounds flow to the front. Typically, we like to see the house, the top of block, about a foot above the center line of the roadway, which puts us typically, if there's slope up, it puts our typical top of wall about a foot or so above the existing grade before we've taken out, or reduced the topsoil or moved the topsoil. So I don't think we show I don't think we have any real full exposures in the center, and we have, lookouts on some of the perimeter lots because there is existing slope to the outside of the site. So we're not really doing any artificial grading because we're maintaining all of the mound sites and drainage. And it is a ditch subdivision, so we will have, again, ditches slow the water, help with infiltration, help with filtering out solids. It's not a curb and gutter subdivision. It is designed to be ditches.
So you're talking the line of the road for the height as it relates to the house, a foot above the road height, but based on the initial grading of the lots and the land as it is, are you going to need to bring in 2 feet of soil to go for the basement, or are you going to need to bring in 8 feet, or, because there's some houses I've seen built where literally they dig the basement, but the basement's sitting, 6 feet out of the ground, and then they backfill around it.
No, we don't intend to bring fill in to raise the lots above anything or to accommodate the houses. We see during the house construction material being trucked off of the site. We don't see, in our interim grading plan, we'll try to minimize that, but we don't see raising those grades. I mean, if you look at a house that's 30 or 40 feet away from the mound, we can't really raise the house and pitch it into the mound. That doesn't give us the slope that we need.
And then my other question is just for staff, on yield plans and things like that. The yield shows that it works out and everything's just fine. What do we take into consideration for floodplain as it relates to, our percentages and our yields? Are we taking into consideration the actual floodplain itself? Because I clicked on it and now my thing went to a different page. I was looking at the one that was blue and yellow, and it looked like half of it was floodplain and the other half was the other portion of it. I just want to make sure that we're...
Well, again, like you said, these lots are
with the
bigger
spirit
than
of-
what's required under the yield, so it makes the yield plan somewhat irrelevant in this case. But I think under the code, you do a yield on the gross acreage of the entire site. So the site would
even
support...
in floodway?
Including,
floodplain?
yeah, this is specific to Eleo Creek zoning. We allow that, but there's no way you're ever going to get that yield because of the floodway, because you can't build it anyway, and you only can go down to 30,000 square feet. So there's a formula there that works out just the way it works out. But in this case, since his lots are larger than the yield plan requirements, then it's kind of makes it a moot point because he doesn't show any lots in the floodplain or on the floodway. So he can submit a yield plan, but it really doesn't mean anything because this is a lot less dense than a yield plan will be.
Yeah, if I heard Mr. Birch correctly, he's intentionally not doing that. He could ask for more per the zoning, but that's not what these particular customers want, so.
Right.
Yes, correct.
So our protections are in there based on, the zoning, the yield, and then the minimum lot size as it relates to, like a heavy floodplain site.
Well,
this one's obviously exceeding that one by.
I mean, in
15,000
other
square feet.
communities and the state allows you to actually fill in the flood fringe, which we don't want to see in this case. So he could actually fill in the flood fringe and try to get more lots out of it. But we don't allow that for conservation subdivisions, which we're somewhat unique with that because a lot of other communities will allow you to fill in the flood fringe to get more lots out of it. So I think from a flooding perspective, from a zoning perspective with regard to floodplain, I think he's doing exactly what he needs to do in terms of the concept plan.
Great. We're all addressing the water issues just with a bunch of different questions.
Yeah,
to
there's
make sure the residents'
drainage or
concerns are being
stormwater, there's floodplain. I only speak to floodplain, so.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you.
Any other comments or questions, Commissioner Schaefer?
It's hard to be the first, I think, because to your point, Mr. Burst, there's not a comparable property or subdivision with this zoning to point to and say, well, it will look like X or Y. I am definitely sensitive to the residents' comments and concerns, and my logical mind trusts the engineering, and my gut still gets anxious about it. And I think also I hear what some of the residents are saying about, well, what about this? What about this? I always feel that way. Every time a concept plan comes forward, there's never enough information for me to feel comfortable. Like, oh yes, this is going to be just fine. And I feel that more poignantly in this property because I do think with such an environmentally sensitive parcel that it feels like we should be able to have more information in order to feel like we're making an informed decision. And yet, I think that this plan meets the objectives of a concept plan. So I'm going to go out of my normal lane and probably vote to approve this, but I would say there should be, I look forward to seeing much more information and a level of detail that will address some of the concerns, some of the questions that residents had with true data-driven, with true data, right? And so beyond the concept, like the actual technical plan that I think Cole referred to earlier, because I do think that this is, everything that has been said makes me feel cautiously optimistic, and yet I think that has to be really treated with such care because this has been an area of the city that has really been battered from the rains, and I don't think we can predict how that's going to look going forward as far as these quasi or alleged 100-year events that are happening biannually. It was a comment without a question.
If I can address that, I mean, if you look at the mound sites, that shows the additional engineering study that we've done. They're all shown there because of both soil reports that were done specifically on each lot and to address the contours. So the ones that are awkwardly placed are because that's where nature says they should be, and we're not trying to manipulate that. And we have done this had a delineation about 7 or 8 years ago, and we've done a new delineation with a DNR assured delineator. So we have done a wetland study. There was a little bit of wetland creep in that little piece that touches the road south of Lot 2, but otherwise the wetland boundaries stayed very similar. And again, we're not trying to manipulate anything there. We're trying to work within what the lot is giving us. So.
Sorry, I thought of one more thing. I would love it if there were fewer lots, but I know better than to ask that of Mr. Stoker and Victory Homes, but maybe we don't need lots 1 and 16. 16 has already got that nice pocket park. Maybe the pocket becomes a little bit bigger and maybe the pond becomes bigger in lot 1. So I just wanted to put it out there knowing what the likely response will be.
Okay, then I'll give the likely response. One is it doesn't make a difference in the engineering because we engineer towards the number of lots. And secondly, there's an incredible demand for larger lots than what have been approved lately in the community. And not significantly larger lots, but larger lots that support the kind of homes that Victory is currently building. So thank you, though.
Noted.
Commissioner Barnes.
I'm going to ask a very broad, general question, but I guess if there's a real quick, easy answer on, in that a lot of the comments that we heard, understandably related to the flooding that was experienced and the closure of the roads, etc. is there any broad general area that you would say that this development is doing to address that particular item? Now, I realize we've talked all night and but is there a simple for the general public?
Well, the simple answer is the stormwater management practices are meant to make sure that no one makes it worse. In fact, you're likely to make it somewhat better by returning it to pre-development flow. Could you actually measure it with a yardstick? Probably not, because to the developer's own point, this is 40 acres out of what the watershed is 40,000 acres.
And I understand all that and respect all that. And so I was just wondering as a reply to the broad general public, okay, we're following formulas, et cetera.
So
primary focus.
Sure, there are lots of shoot myself in the foot primary focuses, but we can't solve the community problem. But we are taking a piece of property that is currently not being managed for erosion, and erosion is one of the issues that blocks floodways down the line. It's not very productive as farming, and it's also contributing runoff because it is bare soil for most of the season. So from that perspective, the post-development stage is going to return it to a flow that's prehistoric rather than something that we recognize right now. So, and afterwards, then I can make some other comments about other developments I've done in the community where we were told there was constant flooding, and 10, 15 years later, there isn't constant flooding. Over the years, myself and my business partners, we've tried to create, a regional stormwater management, and before I retire, I would certainly like to see that taken advantage of in the basin between Concord Creek and the old Darrow parcel, where we donated land, and a friend of mine donated land to the city for a regional stormwater pond. And 20 plus years later, that hasn't been implemented. So we've been good stewards. We've tried to be helpful in the community, and in this case, we're going to make it better. But it's a marginally better that's not going to overcome the regional flooding from this significant, floodway. So.
Any comments or questions still, or is someone perhaps ready for a motion? And, this is the concept plan phase. There's other phases of approval, so it won't be the last time we see it. If the concept plan gets approved tonight, there's plenty of steps after this as it progresses towards an eventual development agreement. So some of the details we're looking for will come back in those follow-on phases. So I know we know that. I'm just saying that so the public is rest assured this isn't the one and done. This will be back at least one more time, perhaps a couple, depending on how the phasing goes. So, Mr. Stralchek.
And I'll follow up with a motion, so it'll help you out. I trend very conservative in any areas where there's concern with water. I had, Villota Park and that subdivision. Commissioner Schaefer also was one of the people that fought vehemently to make sure that, the stormwater didn't get any worse, with a couple developments over there. And she's also a very diligent person when it comes to, asking for facts and reasoning and data to drive decisions. The questions that I asked were very pointed tonight as far as the amount of fill being brought in. I think that the applicant did a really good job answering that. I think that there's going to be high water in the area for some time to come. I don't know that this 40-acre parcel will solve it, but I see that there's options here in which it can help start mitigating it. It can be a step in the right direction to, helping that along a little bit as far as being a little bit better. And with that, I do support this project and would move approval at this time.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any last comments from anyone on the commission? Hearing and seeing none, let's call the roll.
Commissioner Ellsworth. Commissioner Hawley.
Aye.
Commissioner Schaefer. Commissioner Urbani.
Aye.
Commissioner Barnes.
Aye.
Commissioner Chorin.
Aye.
Alderman Strelchek.
Aye.
Mayor Nurbin.
Aye.
Vote passes.
We'll see you back when the time is right. We have one last item tonight, a policy item, a review of the City of Mequon's Code of Ordinances related to boards, commissions, boards, committees, and commissions. This being the Planning Commission. So who's going to walk us through this item? Is that Jack? Kim? It's the Kim show? Okay.
Good evening. The Public Welfare Committee is doing a review of all of the boards, committees, and commissions. They've asked us to review your administration chapter with each of you to evaluate whether the current regulations on how we administer Planning Commission are in line with how you're operating. If you have any creative ideas or solutions on any issues that you're running into in terms of membership, quorum status, anything like that, they'd like to hear from you. I know one of the objectives is looking at some of the boards and commissions and seeing if there's an ability to combine. So for example, open space and tree board, that might make, some sense. I'm not sure that that's the case with Planning Commission, given your current, development review authority. But if you had any review comments or any considerations that you'd like to discuss tonight, please do so, and then we'll share any of the feedback with the Public Welfare Committee.
All right, you outlined a few questions for us in the packet. First one was meeting frequency and scheduling. Any recommendations on that front? We have, I think, just 10 meetings a year.
Well,
I don't think we can go lower than that.
It's always driven by the need, though. I mean,
I would defer to staff because I think
Yeah,
you see
right,
it, what
right.
the throughput is and whether that's sufficient or not. I mean, it's really, we were able to eliminate the August meeting a few years ago, which was nice because you got to maybe take a vacation, which is kind of a cool idea.
Well, that was for us, actually. It wasn't for staff.
I thought of it as for staff. I remember talking about. Me too. Yeah.
Then we combined the November and December
November and
meetings because
December.
that always was a scheduling difficulty. And then
holiday.
it pressed the schedule so close together, you're almost practically doing them at the same time
Yeah.
anyway.
Right.
For good improvements. I don't know. I defer to staff for the meeting frequency and scheduling. I think we show up once a month and we look at a packet once a month. That's very different for what you have to do to prep.
And Planning Commission used to meet twice a month. And, that was about, 10 years ago, maybe that we changed that. Yeah. But there's always, the reason I bring that up is because there's always the opportunity to have a second meeting in the month if we were inundated with applications and want to get people through the process, particularly those that move on to Common Council. So that's all, that flexibility is always available.
And we've done that one. Didn't we have like an ad hoc meeting when something had to be pushed through and it was like, can we get a quorum? And it was just whoever.
Yes,
So,
yes.
I don't know. I think we're fine. Yeah.
So we're genuinely happy. We can always have more meetings if
That
we
was
need
bad
them.
language. You're right.
I appreciate the meetings because I'm the newest member to the commission, and the more information, the better. I'm just really learning from everyone.
Good.
You're the newest? Okay.
Second newest.
Second newest.
Got seniority still.
You want me to raise my hand or just?
No, go ahead.
Yeah.
Mr. Olchek.
Frequency's spot on. With the ability to have the special meetings, I think we're well covered in this space, and I don't think that people typically have a hard time getting in front of us in the timeline that they need to. Occasionally, when things are tabled, I think we should maybe have a policy around, if we would have a second meeting, one that would hit during the month, just so that we could have a little bit of planning. But it wouldn't be a firm date that it had to be, but it would just be kind of the first choice that we'd try to go to. I know in council, we need to have council meetings and, things on other nights. It used to be, well, it's always on a Tuesday. And now it's like, which day of the week are you most available on? Now I'm looking at schedule and juggling 6 things and things like that. So it just makes it a little easier for planning. This committee's great. I'm fine with, I'm just going to go through the list. I'm fine with everything 1 through 5. And I don't think we need to merge with anybody else. I don't think it's appropriate. So,
I'm not sure that the general nature of the inquiry was necessarily targeted at Planning Commission, but I think nonetheless we're opening up the ability to comment to all boards, commissions, and committees. So
with that comment, I mean, tree board.
this is a all boards, commissions, and committees initiative. It wasn't necessarily aimed at shaking up or changing the Planning Commission, but I think we're checking with everyone nonetheless.
With that being stated, you know, I'm on tree board as well, and I do struggle to make some of the times that are a little closer to 5, and the meetings do come up, you know, as needed, so they're not on as frequent of a scheduled program. Maybe just some encouragement for more people on that committee, you know, and some outreach that could be done. I think the quorum is a minimum of 3 for that one, and I know that some of our approvals are hinged on tree board approval before subdivisions can be approved.
We're talking about Planning Commission specifically, but your point is taken that some of those smaller committees, it's hard to get enough participation, which is actually why we're looking at combining some of the committees so that committees that don't do much can do more with the volunteers that they have and hopefully be able to fill the ranks and not have issues with quorum. So it's kind of a...
So my recommendation is that we consider assigning maybe somebody from Planning Commission to tree board that's not me already. I would continue to serve in that role, but just as a policy. I'm already doing it, like I'm already there.
Some kind of outreach to be able to fill all the boards, commissions, and planning. Like I never see any outreach except in like the city newsletter. So I'm already on the city newsletter because I'm on a commission. It's all the rest of the residents that I don't think they know what opportunities are out there necessarily.
So we rely on the newsletter and word of
Yeah,
mouth from
word of mouth.
aldermen to recommend people. So we only have the communication avenues we have. That's another option, yep.
What is the quorum for this group?
5.
5. So I look at Robin, if that's enough, because sometimes you're out there
Making sure.
tell me exactly who's going to be there because I need to count. So like, do we have enough people? Do we have enough alternates? That's kind of up to you.
Yeah, I don't think we.
I think to go
we've never
lower
had
than
an issue
5 though
with,
would be kind of a disservice.
It has to be the quorum.
I think
but-
it would be more like a more recruiting or more alternates needed or something like that.
Well, the number of members and alternates is dictated by ordinance, which we could change. I think we're only down 1 alternate spot now, though. We were getting thin for a while. We filled back up a little bit. And this is a particularly difficult one to recruit for because sometimes you get meetings like tonight and they're not the most fun and they go long. It's one of the cooler committees, though. So we could consider more alternates.
That's what I mean. I'm kind of looking at staff. Like if you really haven't had that much of a problem, because I don't know I just told her my availability. I don't know what happened.
I think there's only been maybe a handful of times in my 20 years that we've had an issue getting 5 here, so I don't think it's a concern.
Yeah.
But we also get the meetings an entire year ahead of time, and then we schedule around it.
Maybe term limits?
I don't know.
You can always self-terminate anytime.
Recruit your own architect.
I think, Kim, I think that city staff is better qualified to answer if there are any issues with any of these things than probably we are. Than I am, I will say. I won't speak for everyone. I feel like this is a pretty well-oiled machine, and you do all of the work to make sure that we are well-informed and have things ahead of time. And I don't know how long of it. I can't think of any issues that I would say, you know what, this is really an opportunity for improvement.
Yeah, I would agree. I think the commission operates really well. We've got really long tenured staff. We've taken opportunities to have special meetings if there's a special policy issue that we have to work through. Robin's great about making sure we've got quorums and having the open lines of communication, so we're planning well in advance. I think a lot of it is very structured so that we are available to the public who is trying to get through their entitlement process. So it is a little bit more formulaic and structured than some of the other boards and commissions. So I don't really have any suggestions either.
I'm very appreciative of the staff.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for all that you do to educate, but I would also ask for any other education I could do out externally
Sure.
to try and catch up, because I felt like I just got thrown in the big pond and swim here.
Here you go, swim.
It takes a long time, honestly.
Appreciative.
It takes a very long time to not feel like.
I can't recall, was there maybe state level planning commission training?
Yeah, they have training every once in a while. Yes.
Yeah.
We've invited you guys in the past. Well, anytime we see it, we'll send out a new flyer information for you guys.
If I could speak to that, I attended the last one.
Yeah.
And I was surprised that I was the only one of the city of Mequon, but not only city of Milwaukee, or Mequon, but this general area. Most of the attendees were way western Waukesha County, or Rock County, et cetera, at that event. So I was just kind of surprised, because I too walked in with not expecting to learn everything, but learn greater aspects than you could obtain from that. While I'm speaking, just a couple thoughts that I have is I want to also firmly state appreciation for staff. I think the staff here is outstanding. I think the board here, it's a good group of people that talk openly, those types of things. So I think all those things have been achieved. One of the things that I am coming from an experience with the city years ago, working on one of the other boards for a long time, where there was talk of merging, and it was merged. And the thing that I think was overlooked was a recognition that the people on the board that I was serving with volunteered. And with a change being made to the structure of the board and the supervision of the staff involvement, it hurt their interest in why they were serving on the committee that I was with. And so I wouldn't want to introduce that sort of dismissing recognition that you're working with volunteers.
I think that's also why we're asking this time, very intentionally asking, because
so-
last time it did not go that way. It was just kind of decided off to the side.
And
Then they got informed.
And it was asked at the time of our board, and there was no regard to it. It was very clear that we had devoted people that then left. And so I would hope to, just as a lesson learned.
Yeah.
The other thing, just as this is a little detail, but recognize that even in the session that I attended, I did not walk away with a good sense of understanding what distinguishes a consent agenda item from a public hearing item, from a regular business, it's somewhat policy. And I don't want to exaggerate, and I realize there's some special, it's some judgments and all that. It's fine, but it's something that I think, speaking broadly, it would help for some understanding for board members.
Yeah, I think we could put something together for you. That should be pretty straightforward.
And I'm not, again, that's saying it's wrong, what you folks are doing or anything like that, as much as being able to appreciate that, hey, this one is
Sure. Yeah, that's something we
this
can,
and so forth. So
yeah, we can put something together for you. I think that's relatively straightforward.
Thanks.
Okay, well, we'll forward this on. Thank you.
All right. If we're done with that item, our next meeting is Monday, September 28th, 6 o'clock, right here. That just leaves one decision left tonight. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved. Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? I hope not. We are adjourned.